The Toronto Blue Jays just sent a serious message. They come out and they absolutely destroyed the Baltimore Orioles following what was a very poor opening day performance. So to break down the performance of the Jays, discuss what it means going forward, and discuss one particular player that continues to shine. We also have a major injury update. It's one of the Jays pitchers left with an injury in this game, and we just got an update on that. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been absolutely unbelievable. If you want to help us towards our goal, our big goal, of course, of 20,000 subscribers, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a much better game than the one that we saw just the other day. Literally yesterday, I was at the game yesterday and it was a disaster. We all know that. It's no secret that yesterday's game was poor. But today, the Jays came out and did exactly what they had to do. And you look at the box score here, there's a ton of things to go over. Now, coming into this game, the big thing I was advocating for, I covered it in the video earlier today, was, of course, the lineup and what the Jays lineup was going to look like. And, of course, who they were actually going to put in the lineup. We were all hoping that Alan Rodin was going to remain in the lineup, and he did in left field again. Bichette, Guerrero, Santander, Jimenez. I still think Jimenez in the number 4 hole is something that needs to change. I don't think that's something that's going to be very effective going forward. I don't think it's something that's really going to be, a staple on this team. I think he's going to be more of a 6-7 hitter, especially, struggled a little bit tonight in the cleanup spot. But regardless of that, we saw a bunch of players shine. One player in particular tonight that played really well on both sides of the ball was Will Wagner. And obviously, Will Wagner is going to be a guy that he's going to get in a lot of games. And the Jays trust him immensely. He had obviously a couple big hits today. And the biggest thing with Will Wagner is, could he play defense? And he had a fantastic diving play and got the out at first at third base early in the game. And that was following right after Alan Rodin making a diving play in left field. So there's a lot of different things here. And the two young guys that the Jays have called up and put trust in, Will Wagner and Alan Rodin. Obviously, Rodin didn't have a hit tonight, but he had a fantastic bases loaded, or I believe it was whatever it was, with a man on third. He had a fantastic sac fly, right? And he was inches away. He hit that ball extremely hard. He was inches away from hitting it out of the park for a grand slam, right? We all know that. But the big thing here is going to be how they get Will Wagner and Alan Rodin continue playing time. And the big question mark now will be going forward into tomorrow, how the Jays, manage this lineup. We saw Nathan Lucas play center field tonight with, of course, Ernie Clement getting the night off in theory, but he also had a fantastic game. Let's go down the line a little bit. Bichette looks absolutely fantastic. He is destroying the ball. Even in yesterday's home opener and season opener, he was crushing the ball, hitting it hard. He's going to be someone that he's going to have a breakout year, and an impactful Bichette is someone that completely changes the outlook of the team. And not only that, he is also probably going to start hitting the cleanup spot here soon once either Will Wagner or Alan Rodin get moved up there. I think Will Wagner has made a very strong case to do so. He has looked fantastic bat-to-ball skills. A couple hits today, got a hit yesterday. He looks really, really good. Vladdy, coming off of a game that there was a lot of traction on Twitter and things about him having one of the worst swings of his career in yesterday's game. He had another bad swing today a couple times. That doesn't matter. He was fantastic. Got a double. Of course, got an RBI single. He is lacing the ball. And that top 3, ladies and gentlemen, Santander hit one at his shins out of a lot of parks, but not out of this Toronto Blue Jays park. If it was inches higher, it would have been gone. Santander looks fantastic. I think that top 3, now whether, the 3 is going to be the 1, 2, 3, or, different order, 2, 3, 4, which I think is going to be the more effective order, moving Bo down in the cleanup spot and moving Will Wagner, someone up at the top. That's going to be a lineup that is absolutely terrifying going forward. There's no doubt about it. And this was the first game where they actually, of course, second game of the season, but compared to the first game, Santander looked fantastic, got on base 3 times. You had Vladdy smoking the ball. Bichette, who hits best with runners in scoring position, which is why he should be hitting in the 4 hole, but regardless, that'll be a conversation for another day. Bichette with runners in scoring position looked fantastic. And the bottom of the order, even George Springer looked really good. A couple of solid, contact, got a little bit of it, lucky on one of his singles, but regardless of that, he had 2 hits. He's smoking the ball as well. He smoked it yesterday, even though he did have that soft single. You look at the bottom of the order here, Nathan Lucas with a bases loaded walk, which was huge to make the score 2-1 before that big 4-5 run inning. He had a hit on the night as well with a couple runs. And then Alan Rodin, of course, again, he went hitless, but he looked really good, and he looks extremely comfortable at the dish there. But if you can get that bottom half, the Will Wagner, Nathan Lucas, and Alan Rodin, now whether it's Nathan Lucas, whether it's Ernie Clement, who came on and got an RBI double that was also at his shins. You have a guy who's hitting from the right side, and Ernie Clement hitting one at his shins. You have Anthony Santander, who hit from the left side today, is of course a switch hitter, hitting one from his shins. This team, if the bottom of the order, which is something that is already way better than last year, if the bottom of the order can keep up and get on base, then we know they're going to drive in runs this year. They're going to do damage, and that's one of the biggest things. And The offense looked fantastic. You got to move on and continue to do it starting tomorrow night. And you can see here Brendan Hyde on the Jays offense. Give them credit. Brendan Hyde said for how they swung the bat. I thought they looked good at bat against us, especially in the fourth inning, and we just had a tough time putting out the fire. And you're looking at some of the early swings in the game. The Jays were getting unlucky early in this game. Of course, you can see here tons of hard hit balls. George Springer, Santander, Alan Rodin with a 104-mile-per-hour ground out. Like, the team is in a very good spot right now. Yesterday's game was bad. They got a little bit unlucky, but the pitching staff was bad. But today you come out and you have a fantastic game from Kevin Gausman. He has the 2022 Kevin Gausman velocity, touching 96, touching 97. He's throwing strikes, 6 innings, 2 runs, 4 Ks, 3 hits. He was rolling. Of course, you also have Jimmy Garcia, Nick Sandlin holding it down. Sandlin got into a little bit of trouble, bases loaded, but ultimately he got the job done. These are the games where you need to win against division rivals. Yes, it's not even April yet. Is there must-win games? Not really, but we know how much these wins matter. Beating an extremely good Baltimore Orioles team, coming off of a game where they absolutely crushed you, is huge. And I also want to give a big shout out to John Schneider tonight, because this lineup construction, he gets a little bit of a hard time for having Jimenez in the cleanup spot. I'm very curious to see what they do tomorrow with the cleanup spot, but regardless of that, pinch hitting Will Wagner for Ernie Clement with Cionel Perez on the mound was a fantastic move by John Schneider. It was the right time, and it was a tough decision because Will Wagner had 2 hits at that point. You move in, you put in the righty for the lefty, boom, 2 RBIs. And then you put in Davis Schneider, he gets the walk, he gets on base. Fantastic coaching by John Schneider, and this is why having the bench the way it is, you have Ernie Clement on the bench, you have Davis Schneider on the bench, it makes things so much easier. And this is the first time where the Jays have a proper platoon bench in a very long time. That's whether Will Wagner is playing or not. If Ernie Clement's in there, you have the Will Wagner pinch hit off the bench. And clearly they have a lot of faith in Will Wagner at third base. So fantastic game from him. And also Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He looked really good. He looked like, the Vladdy we all know and love. And Kevin Gausman spoke out on his, his spring training carrying over to his outing tonight. He said, you get under those lights out here, it's a little different. It was nice. It was kind of like a drug. Haven't had it in a while, so that adrenaline was nice for sure. Looked fantastic. And he probably should have been the opening day starter, but hindsight's 2020. Berríos has struggled on opening day over the past couple of years. He had an okay one last year, 6 innings, 2 runs. But regardless of that, one thing I do want to get into here, and for some reason, that Brendan Little, box score isn't here. He also pitched an inning, but he left the game, and people were worried. He actually left it with a trainer, and people were worried about what it was. It is actually a left lat cramp, and he felt out of sync, says John Schneider. They'll evaluate him. This is pretty good news, better than a lot of potential injuries that could have happened, especially when you leave with a trainer. The Jays have no bullpen depth at all with Eric Swanson gone, especially without, they have no other lefty. Let Genesis Cabrera go. Of course, Tim Mays last year, but let Genesis Cabrera go. They didn't keep Ryan Yarbrough. You do not have a lefty if Brendan Little's out, and he looked fantastic in tonight's brief outing. So hopefully he's going to be okay. We'll keep you up to date on that tomorrow. But ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap it up. A fantastic game. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest Jays news. Bear with the setup. I'll be back to my normal setup on Sunday. So stay tuned for all that, ladies and gentlemen. The Jays are rolling. You're enjoying it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button.